Hey guys, I want to talk to you about how I found out I was dating a narcissist. This was over 5 years ago, so I've been free for 5 years. Um, Everything was very spiritual. I know everyone talks about the outside part, but no one talks about the spiritual side of it. That's what woke me up. He came to me talking spiritually. Some people may talk normal and say, hey, you're beautiful, you're this, you're that. But he came to me spiritually, like saying, you're strong. Oh my God, you're so strong, type stuff like that. That's not a normal thing to say unless you know somebody for years. But for someone to not know you, to come to you to say that, and then to tell you that they studied you, that's on a different level. So, but I didn't catch it because, as a God-fearing woman, a loving person of God, we tend to not ignore certain things. So, what woke me up and to find out that this was a narcissist, the things he was doing, the things he was saying, like one time he asked to do Bible study and he was in the dark. We supposed to be doing Bible study, but I noticed he was in the dark, and I was reading the scriptures and stuff like that, and that was weird to me. It was just a lot of spiritual things wrong with the relationship. I noticed that before I met him, I was in my word, spending time with God, praying and fasting a lot. But when I started talking to this guy, he wanted to stay on the phone all day, all night, literally. And it caused me not to get in my word. It caused me not to pray. It caused me not to fast. It caused me not to do a lot of things. And they call that love bombing. But actual reality, they use that technique to find out about you. You're constantly on the phone with them all day. So it sounds like bonding, but it's really not bonding. What they're doing is trying to find everything about you. Just think about it. You go a whole week on the phone with somebody, day in and day out, all day long. When do you have time to pray? When do you have time to fast, read your Bible? And when do you have really time for you? So that's another way of love bombing that they get you, and that keeps you out of the will of God. When you don't pray every day, read your word every day, that gets you out of the will of God. Their whole technique is to get you out of the will of God in sin, not reading your Bible. You're not spiritually guarded. You're not wearing the full armor of God. And it sounds like you're a match made in heaven, but it wasn't. So spiritually, it was pulling me from God. You can't go a day without reading your Bible, okay? And I learned this through this last connection. This narcissist was in church. Matter of fact, he was a leader in the church. So he knew the word day and night, back and forth. Sorry, day and night. He knew the word back and forth. And you have to also remember that demons know the word back and forth. Satan knows the word back and forth. So, I mean, you can't even go by that anymore. Somebody quoting scripture, somebody talking about God, and they're a leader in the church. You can't even go by that anymore. You really need to ask God for discernment, because he was a leader in the church. Okay? And so there was so much going on spiritually in this connection. He started sending money, and I really think that's what really did a covenant or a contract or somehow, because he used his money as a ritual to get to me. And then that's when my money just stopped. And I really had to depend on him. I really had to ask him for money, because my money completely stopped as soon as he started sending money. I remember one time he sent me $100, and he came back and told me he had got a $8,000 contract. And I was like, wait a minute, that's like pennies. He just gave me pennies compared to he got $8,000. Like, okay, wait a minute. That's when I really start waking up. Anytime you messing with my money, you know, anybody, you mess with their money, they now they woke, you know, and that's what really start waking me up right there. I start paying attention, and it brought me back to the remembrance when I was in my 20s, where I literally went through something like that with a guy that I was dating, and it affected my finances. He was finding money, and I was losing out. I couldn't find a job. Nothing was going right for me. It's like my life changed. And so when you with a narcissist, your life changes spiritually. You think this is a match made in heaven, but it's not. It affected my finances tremendously. I lost my job. I wasn't able to work. Nothing was going right for me. And I was constantly asking, hey, can I borrow this? Can you send me this? Can you help me with this? And he didn't mind, because it was a money ritual. When you see women chasing men for money, and men chasing women for money, their finances is tore up from the floor. So you be wondering, why do they keep chasing men and women for money? Why can't they get their own job? Because something has happened in their lives to where their finances is messed up. That's a curse. So we think that narcissists mess with us mentally. It's so much deeper. It's so much deeper. They mess with your finances. If you're with a narcissist, and all of us, you were doing well before you met them, but when you got with the narcissist, all of a sudden your money changed, your life just turned upside down. Now they're making money, they're successful. Now they're telling you, they're coming to you saying, hey, I'll take care of you. You don't have to work. Because they stealing from you. I mean, wouldn't you do that for someone? If you're taking their money, you're willing to take care of them and keep them there and keep them. See, we think that's amazing, somebody coming taking care of us, but you should look at that's like a red flag. Like, why you can't just help me get a job? Why you can't help me be successful? Why do you want me to sit here and depend on you? It's a form of idolizing. They want you to idolize him. So I started noticing that it was a lot of pride, and he could never apologize. He could never admit his flaws, and everything was my fault, and everything was pointed at me like something's wrong, you know. And it was just the worst experience I've ever had spiritually. I was really spiritually woke. Like, I literally was like, I've seen this before. I experienced this before. I know what this is. But I didn't know what it is yet until I ran across the video talking about narcissism, and it described everything that I was dealing with this guy. He had a bad childhood. They're very traumatized as a child. If you sit down and think about the narcissists that you're with, they were traumatized. They all are. Now, all of us have some trauma, but some people know how to let it go and move on, and there's the narcissists, they don't know how to let things go and move on. They stay angry, bitter, and their goal is to tear down and take down as many people as they can. They are very jealous and envious of you. It could be your spouse. It could be a sibling. It could be a cousin. It could be mama. It could be daddy. They're all jealous. And I remember him telling me he was jealous of me. I mean, he literally, some of them are bold to tell you the truth about what they're actually feeling, but you really don't want to believe that, because you really care about the person. You don't want to believe that jealousy is truly real and it comes to destroy you. And all the lying and all the pretending like they want to be with you just to hold on and feed you crumbs. I remember he started feeding me crumbs. When they see that you are depending on them, they start feeding you crumbs. I remember I had a bill due and I asked them, oh, can you wait till Friday? I get paid Friday. That's feeding you crumbs to keep. Well, I know I can keep her at least till Friday. That's what I felt like. And so I was like, I I think he's trying to take the place of God in my life. He's trying to make me depend on him instead of God. Like, something is wrong, spiritually wrong. So I started kind of like, I think I stopped talking to him for 6 months, and it was so much peace, and I was able to pull myself together. But because, you know, I was so used to talking to him, you know, when you come from a life of talking to nobody and then you start being friends with people, it's kind of hard, you know, to go back to that. So I called. And why did I open that door again? I literally was like, I made a big mistake. Then it got to, he was trying to get verbally abusive. He was trying to do the silent treatment. And I remember him saying, how did you leave me? So then that took it to another level of, okay, he's doing witchcraft. He really is doing witchcraft. Who would say that? That's not a normal thing to say. So when he said to me, you know, how did you leave me? That was in the spiritual realm to me. And so I was like, I really think I really messed up. And then God sent this man to talk to me. I was delivering groceries, and I went to his home to deliver the groceries, and he asked me to come back. I went back. I took my son with me for protection just to make sure. And he spoke into my life, and that's when he told me that I had an enemy in my life. I knew exactly what he was talking about, and I went straight home and took care of it. This is 5 years later now. I have been done, and I never looked back. I shut down all communication everywhere. I mean, he was trying to connect and call and everywhere, but it's not worth it. When I found out that warning before destruction, and that if I keep associating myself with this person, my life is not going to end well. And so that's spiritually, I was spiritually walking around dead and didn't know it. It literally, you could see it in my character. It looked like my light was snuffed out. It was like straight darkness. I remember two people came up to me, told me I was dark. And I had no clue. I knew it had to be spiritual. When the second person said it, I knew it had to be spiritual. And I remember scrolling through my phone and seeing a picture of me completely dark. My eyes was dark. My skin looked weird. All I could do was praise and thank God. And I'm still, you know, healing from it. So it takes time to heal. It's been 5 years. My life, I'm still praying and fasting to continue to break this thing. But you have to ask God for discernment. This narcissist spirit, which is really Jezebel, Python spirit, Leviathan spirit, it's a lot of spirit. You might as well say legions is in a narcissist. It's a spiritual battle between God's children and the children of the devil. And you gotta wake up. And more is coming soon. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you.